Hello and welcome to Mid-American Gardener. I'm your host, Tinisha Spain. Thanks so much for watching tonight. We've got a live show, so we've got lots to cover, show and tells to get to, so let's just jump right in and hopefully answering some of your questions on the phone. So let's have our panelists introduce themselves and tell you a little bit more about what they're interested in. So Chuck, we'll start with you.
Okay, I am Chuck Voigt. I retired from the Department of Crop Sciences. My specialties there were vegetables and herbs. But I've also done most of the food crops and some of the ornamental stuff. So we can probably handle questions in that general arena.
Okay, great. Next.
I'm Theresa Meers. I'm a program director of horticulture at Parkland College. And I've got greenhouse, indoor plants, house plants, a little general horticulture, some turf grass. So just kind of a broad array of general knowledge.
Okay, and last.
Hi, thanks. My name is Kent Miles, and I'm an owner of Illinois Willows. We are a specialty cut flower grower located in western Champaign County, and I can answer questions on cut flowers, flowering branches, some ornamentals.
Okay. Nice cross-section of knowledge at the table tonight. So we always start with show and tells, and tonight we've got a lot to get to. So Chuck, let's start with you. What are you going to talk about?
Okay, well, I'm going to talk about radishes, and winter radishes probably more than the ones we think of, the little red ones that you plant the seeds and within 30 days you've got radishes. This one is the inspiration. It's a black Spanish, a round black Spanish, and it's got a real leathery skin on it. And you grow these and store them like you would rutabagas or other root crops. And a friend of mine said, well, I've grown those, but they're always too hot to eat. And it's like, well, you need to plant them like rutabagas in midsummer and mature them into the cool weather of the fall. And then they should be a little bit milder. This is one called Blaze that I found while I was out looking for some other things. And this, of course, is a daikon. They're selling it by the pound, so I didn't get one of the huge ones. And this one is very special. That's why I got this wonderful knife here.
Ooh.
Sometimes called watermelon radish or various other things.
I wasn't expecting that plot twist.
Yes, and this one as well. If you try to grow this in the spring, I've never had success with this. It gets stringy and goes straight to seed. Again, you could plant this a little later than that one because I think it would mature a little faster, but maybe mid-August. Get this planted and mature it into the fall. And I think if you haven't had success when you tried this before, you probably will have more success now. So
How's the flavor on that one?
I was just going to ask that. Uh-oh. Well, it looks like you're going to have to taste it just to find out.
there you go. Pass it on down.
Oh, no. Hopefully it's not terrible.
Smells radishy.
Oh, I actually like it better than the standard radish.
There you go.
Well, hey.
Oh, nice.
Pleasantly surprised.
Yeah.
It's nice.
Sorry, guys. I wish you could experience this, but suffice it to say, not bad at all.
You know, and they're really kind of fun if you do some of the sculpture kinds of things that you get in some Asian
There's a
restaurants.
little heat, though, after kick.
Well,
Yeah.
that's
I haven't gotten it
part
yet.
of the fun.
Yeah, just a little bit.
That's where you slice it thin and put it on buttered bread, so the butter kind of helps quell some of that
Interesting. Okay.
flavor.
Just a reminder, we are live tonight. We would love for you to call. So 333-3495 is the phone number to reach us at. Anything else in your first session that we missed?
Just basically that these winter types are fall radishes, not spring radishes.
Okay.
The ones that you're going to be planting, you know, as soon as spring gets here, those would be the cherry bells and the scarlet globes. And I've never had tremendous luck with sparkler, but you know, like that. And then through the summer, you might switch over to a longer one like French breakfast or something. Seems to stand the heat a little better, maybe because the roots are a little farther down in the ground.
So do you cook with yours, or do you prefer them raw? What do you?
I've mostly only eaten them raw, but not that long ago I saw Jacques Pepin with he was slicing them up and it was a very simple preparation. He was just sautéing them with some garlic and salt and pepper probably, and he and his daughter just thought they were great. So I think that's just another way to get them in there. And you know, most of these are white inside, but with these you get a little phytonutrient for your buck as well.
Nice. Okay. All right, we'll come back to you. All right, what do you got?
Well, I brought in some Sansevieria just because it's a great indoor plant. It's one of those plants that is super easy to grow indoors, but it grows kind of interesting. And you can see where we have taken tips off of these branches, and this was just one little pot worth, and we've got this massive root structure. And they grow very linear from the roots. So if you're just going to divide and cut them apart, that's all you would do. This could easily become 2 plants, and I just tape them apart. And then we'd have nice plants for 2 different pots. But once you take the tip off, and I'll try and talk about more the propagation method in the next segment, but take the tip off of it, they never regain their tips. And you can see the new growth is coming from down inside here. We have a nice little one starting to grow right in here. But they're great. I mean, sometimes I don't remember to even water mine for maybe once a month in the house, and it just goes on and gets bigger and bigger clumps. I like to keep them in a plastic pot because I do want to split the pots fairly easy as they get really thick. But they're supposed to be one of the better things to have near your bedroom or where you're sleeping to actually clean the air and make it a good place to sleep. But there's lots of different types of Sansevieria. This particular one is just the old-fashioned mother-in-law's tongue that's quite tall, but there's shorter ones. There's fatter leaf ones. There's various ones out there. But it's just such an easy plant, and we just finished the propagation group at Parkland, so the students were making lots of new ones. And this was one that they did last fall. So it's taken several months. It takes a while to get it to do something. So I'll explain how we get to this in our next segment, but just a fun plant.
When you go to repot that, would you trim the roots back or anything?
I wouldn't trim them anymore.
Okay.
No. And in fact, if I was a little more careful, I would have tried to have a more balanced root mass. But no, I would never. And you can kind of see where the soil line was because of the white. And I would not go any deeper and get a pot, keep it on a probably a 5-inch pot or 6-inch pot at most is all I would put that in. And you could even put them both back together in the same pot to keep it look fuller. And that way they're back together and not splitting your pot and pushing it apart. Because they're wanting to grow in a very linear fashion. So they usually poke out the side of a pot.
Okay. All right, we'll talk about the propagation, on the next round.
Save it for the next round.
Wonderful. Okay, Kent.
Yes, so tonight for the first show and tell, I brought in some pussy willow varieties that we grow. This particular one here, it's kind of on a blonde, kind of a straw-colored bark. And it has a little mini catkins. Then they're kind of parallel going up the stem. This variety is called Purple Heirloom. And in the sunlight, it has a little bit of a purpley cast. Indoors, it's got kind of a darker navy cast to it. But it's on real wispy branches, almost grass-like. And this one, average, it gets anywhere from 6 to 10 feet as far as new growth in the spring. And so right now we're harvesting all of our pussy willows for, spring product. But this one, so it gets, that 10 to 12 foot and generally about 8 to 10 foot wide.
Wow.
So for the
fast growing?
Yeah, for the homeowner, you need some space with it. Yeah. This is one of our pussy willows here. This one is variety is called Discolor, which is your common traditional pussy willow that you would think of with the silver catkins alternating up the stem. This one, we had to peel off the outside coating, and we just did that with the thumbnail, and it just kind of exposes the catkin. This is one of our slower ones that forces naturally, generally towards March. So right now we're cutting it and bringing it indoors, forcing it open for sales. This other variety is called Giant, and this is our largest catkin. New growth yearly is in the 10 to 12 foot range. Also similar to the Purple Heirloom, you need some space with it because it will outgrow its space if it's planted next to a fence or something like that, so it does need some room. But this has the larger catkins left on the plant. They'll end up turning about the size of your thumb. So they're real little now, but they will as some of these larger ones, they will get some nice size to them.
So in an arrangement, how long would these look and stay fresh?
In a cut flower arrangement, or just an arrangement in a vase?
Not
by
just an
themselves?
arrangement by
Yeah,
themselves.
by themselves.
Without the...
I still have some that are a couple years old.
Really?
So what you want to do if you want to keep them long term is don't put them in water. Just display them dry, and the catkins will stay at the growth that they are now.
Okay.
So if you wanted them a little bit bigger, like these giants to get bigger, I would suggest putting them in water for about a week, and then they're going to double in size.
Wow.
And then take them out of the water, and then just let them naturally dry.
Very nice. Those are really pretty. Okay. All right. We do have a call. 333-3495 is the number. We've got Tom on the line from Decatur with a question about growing grass. Tom, are you there?
Oh, yes, I am. Thank you for taking my call.
Absolutely. Go ahead.
Okay, I've got an older home here in Decatur, but unfortunately, I've been trying to grow grass in the front yard. I've been having a problem enough with the city with all the salt they put down, and the salt keeps going like everywhere into the yard. But I've tried to use grass seed. The pH stays right at a beautiful 7. I've got a beautiful flower garden with over 120 different flowers in the front yard, but I can't get grass to grow. I've tried to reseed it, everything, and then they told me, well, have you ever thought about using plugs? So I didn't know if using that Zoya grass would be better than trying to seed it, or what else could I put on it to make... I try to cut the grass. The only thing is I got the best weeds in town, but I don't have no grass.
Okay.
How shady is it in the yard?
With all the, I had 2 trees in the front yard, a Chinese elm and an ash. Unfortunately, both of them didn't make it, so I cut them back down. The front yard is totally sun.
Okay, well, that shouldn't be a problem. The thing about zoysia grass is that it's a warm season grass, and so it's only going to be green when the summer is warm. So it's going to be sort of a light tan color from like right after it frosts in the fall until sometime in May when it warms up again. So that's a thing that you need to consider. I know some people who have gone out and spray painted it green, but that seems a little drastic. The other thing about it is once you have it established, it's darn near impossible to de-establish it. So
You
And
gotta
it
really
creeps
want
into
it.
the neighbors too.
Yeah. Look around and
Have you tried sod instead of plugs?
No, I haven't. My son lives in California, so out there they have a big, huge, it's about like 5 or 6 mile long area that they make the sod out there in California. But no, I haven't tried that.
Because rather than doing the seeds, you could put sod down and you're going to get more of an instant garden or lawn. How high are you mowing when you do mow?
I try to keep mine because I like grass, so I keep mine at a minimum of like 3 inches. I don't like my neighbors like to look like the golf course, but I like to keep mine where it's grassy.
You can do even 3.5, and that may even help too.
Right.
The taller the grass, the deeper the roots, the better chance you have for survival. But if you've got some salt issues there, you may need to do some more watering too to flush some of the salts out, because if the salts are there and that's what's killing the grass out, it doesn't matter what you put, it's still going to die. But sod would be...
I'm sorry. Would a soil sample or would that
It always
make
helps.
sense in this case?
Yeah.
do soluble salts on it and see where the
levels are. But I would, for our area around here, I would opt to try some sod if it's not too large of an area, or at least partial sod to give you some starts and then work around from that.
Okay.
But
And their sod a lot more local than California.
oh yeah. No, you do want local sod. Yeah.
Unless you can get a deal that way. I don't know. Okay, we're going to line 2. Phil in Lincoln with a question about growing fennel. Phil, go ahead.
Yes, I have dill that comes up naturally in my garden, and it works very well every year. I never have to plant it, but I'd like to grow fennel. And I had some when we went to Italy a year ago, and I'd like to grow fennel. The question is, can I plant fennel and dill in the same basic area, or will it ruin my dill?
No, they're
Compatible?
dare I say it, they're sexually incompatible. So you can grow them. They're not gonna louse each other up. Fennel, once it goes to seed, is even a little more tenacious than dill. So you might want to keep a little closer eye on fennel as it reseeds itself. But other than that, just that would be fine. If you want to grow the big Florence fennel like this, then that maybe you need to start from seed and do it that way. But just the sweet fennel that grows up and flowers, it's a great pollinator plant. It's a great bird plant because they love the seeds. It's quite nice, but it can be a little bit aggressive in terms of coming back.
Okay. All right. Keep calling, 333-3495. And we were kind of segueing into your second round, so go for it.
Okay. Well, the inspiration for this one was I saw celery root in a different store. If you're not familiar with celery root, it's just celery that has been selected to make a big storage root instead of these wonderful crunchy petioles that we know and love. And so the tops on this are pretty stringy and not real significant, although they would have celery flavor, and you could chop this into a soup or a stew or something, and that would be fine. But this is the main deal here. You would peel off, this rough outer part, and it's sort of creamy white inside. Chop it up. You want to get it into acidified water, a little lemon juice or something, because the color changes pretty rapidly. But it has a very mild, sweet celery flavor. I think this is going to go into a pot of soup when I get it back to the home ranch.
So I'm fascinated by this. What would have to happen to get celery as I know it to look like that? How do you force that, or is that how do you?
It's not a forcing. It's a selection process that's happened. It's like cabbage and Brussels sprouts and broccoli and cauliflower are basically all the same species of plant. They've just been selected down different avenues. It's like Swiss chard and beets are the same plant.
Okay.
It's just that the beet was selected to have the beet root, and Swiss chard was selected to have the really nice petioles. We don't do a particularly good job of growing celery here, although it's been grown commercially in Ohio and in Michigan. I've grown it. It would be really hard for me to get celery to look like that. Although just today I was in a 1915 vegetable gardening book, and they had this great idea for how to blanch it, because you need to exclude the sunshine, because otherwise it's going to be so powerful and bitter that you don't want to be near it. And what they did was they made sort of a felt cylinder, and then they made a two-sided metal cylinder, and they kind of captured it in the metal cylinder, and the felt cylinder was slightly larger than that. So once they got it held together, they slipped that over it, and then pulled out the metal cylinder, and there it was.
Wow.
And I just thought that was, some of the things they have in 1915 books make me kind of chuckle, but that actually sounded like a good tip. So maybe I'll try to get good petiole celery again. But it's really fussy about water and a lot of other things, where this just kind of grows. The only thing is it has tiny seeds, and you have to get them started in the snowy part of winter to get them to come up 3 weeks later, and then have them big enough so that they don't disappear when you put them in the garden. So
interesting.
And you can find celery plants at garden centers. I don't know that I've ever seen a celeriac plant at a garden center. So you kind of have to start your own to get those.
Very neat. Very neat. Okay. Moving to you, Theresa.
Well, we have these sansevierias that we did the propagation on. And if you look closely in the center here, you can still see the old piece of the leaf that we use, because what I showed you first was division, but we do not really use seeds for sansevierias. We do leaf propagations, and they're very slow. This took quite a while, but we actually ended up with 3 little plants coming off of this guy, and he came out quite nice. just took a while. This was one that was done a little bit later, and we have the little shoots that are now forming. And we have 4 little shoots that are starting this. And so this is just one section of our leaf. And you really need to be diligent to keep track of which was the top and which was the bottom. So often we'll do more of an angled cut on our bottom piece so that you know which way it's going down. Just keep your track of what you're doing. But what we do a lot of for homeowner type or students and tours that are coming through, I make little mini greenhouses all the time. I like my mini greenhouse, portable and all. But I would normally just make several sections. We could use rooting hormone. You don't have to.
I was just going to ask if you guys use those
We
in
use
the classroom.
I do because we're limited with our time.
Sure.
Our 16-week class, we're trying to make sure.
Is there any benefit to letting it dry out before you stick it in, or is it okay?
You could, but normally we don't because we're doing it in our class period. We're doing it in the hour,
Sure.
and we've had just as much success either way. So
Why bother?
why bother? I'll forget about them if I dry them out. And then we just put them into the little. I have just moist soil. We seal this up, and we'll get a little bit of condensation if it's not in direct sunlight. You don't want it in direct sunlight because it then actually will kind of cook it. But I'd leave it in this little mini greenhouse for several weeks because these do take a while. But once you actually have roots established and the roots started, you can take the greenhouse part off and just kind of let it grow. But then it's going to be another couple of weeks yet again before you get your initials. And this guy, with the 4 of them coming on, we could actually divide this and have 4 separate plants, or we could leave it grow kind of like this one did. And we've got 2 large ones and a 3rd small one that's trying to come up through the center.
And that was a cutting from the fall.
I actually am thinking this might have been a cutting from our spring.
Gotcha.
This would have been fall, and then they're just starting new
Wow.
ones now.
Very cool.
So it does take some time.
Okay.
The variegated ones don't come true from leaf cuttings.
They have for us.
Really?
Yes, we have.
They're not supposed to. 'Cause
Well,
they're Camaro.
but when we have some that have the yellow banding on the side, and we've put them in, and we've gotten them to come.
Interesting.
But it's interesting. We have 4 here. Depends where it comes on the leaf.
Okay.
So if it comes closer to where the variegation is, it will come. If it comes in the middle, it's going to be more green, and if it comes on the edge. So it depends on where it comes.
Learn something new
Once in
every
a great
day
while,
here.
you could probably get a yellow one then as well.
We've had one that was more yellow than green, and it lasted, I don't know, maybe 6 months, and then it just wasn't enough chlorophyll in it to keep it going. So, but it's all in where those land. And this one's actually doing very well with the 4 on it. Usually we get 1 or 2 is all we really get.
That one's really happy.
It is. It's a huge piece that's there.
Great.
But no, it's the, I don't know, the golden one that we had with the variegation. We've had some really interesting things that have happened, and we've even split the leaf to help kind of force it off to the edge to get towards the yellow. Try different pieces because you don't have to have the whole piece of leaf.
Yeah.
But it's where it lands, and that's what makes it fun.
Yeah. Okay.
Interesting.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, Kent, you've got another.
Yeah, so we've got quite a bit here.
What can I help you do?
We'll just kind of zip through some of this.
Okay.
So this segment's on winter branches, where the first one is on pussy willows. So I'm just going to kind of show you these 3. And these 3 are varieties of dogwood. We've got the red twig, and then we got the cardinal, which is kind of more of a cherry red. Then we've got the yellow twig. So these can all be used for decorative indoors or outdoors.
Beautiful colors.
Yes.
And your plant actually wants to be pruned to stay those colors.
Yes. So we generally will prune yearly to get straighter stems and the best bark color. Dogwoods are kind of known for the bark color. This group here is our curly willows. We've got the red curly willow, which is kind of an orangey copper red. We've got this one here is a burgundy, kind of a chocolate merlot color in the sunlight. It's very striking in the sunlight. And this next one is our golden curls, which is kind of real similar to the yellow twig dogwood. It's kind of a chartreusey yellow. It's more of a vertical compared to the red curly. The burgundy, the golden, and the green are all going to be more vertical growing, where they're going to grow narrow but tall. The red grows just as much wide as it does tall. So,
Gotcha.
but all of them have great winter interest. This next one here is another willow, and this is the Japanese fantail.
That one's my favorite.
Yeah. So this one, you can see little catkins starting to pop out, and wherever there's a catkin, there is a leaf.
Okay.
In the summer. So at the top of the fasciated stems, you get just a ton of foliage. So it has a real tropical look to it. And
will these open like the other ones?
yes, if you would,
they do.
we're going to go ahead and put this in water. The catkins would all pop up.
Okay.
So we go through and cut all the fasciated stems off the plant, and then the balance are all going to be straight. So we use those as a different type of pussy willow.
Got about 30 seconds.
Okay, another willow. This one's called flame willow. It's similar to growing like dogwood, but it's a copper red color. This one here is a white willow. And this one, to make it white, we peeled the bark off.
Oh.
So this
Very
is a
nice.
dried branch now, and it's we sell it as a white willow.
Very nice. Okay. Well, thank you guys so much for coming. And we're out of time.